You're listening to the Preacher's Hour podcast,
a podcast that dives into culture and society from a young preacher's perspective.
I'm Jeffrey Copeland. I teach middle school history. I'm married to my wife, Selena, and I'm a student of the Bible.
And I'm Brandon Jackson. I'm married to my wife, Jess. We have 3 beautiful daughters, and I love to share the gospel with teenagers and help disciple them in their walk.
We sit down each week and have conversations about what we've learned,
what we're learning,
and what we think about current events happening around us.
Enjoy.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Welcome.
Man, we are back on the pod.
Man,
It's been a while for us. Like, we haven't recorded in a while. Yeah.
it's actually really strange. I
Yeah.
didn't think about it. I was like, they're just like,
It's been a week,
been a
for
week.
us.
Yeah.
But for us, it's been a lot. Scheduling and stuff like that. So we actually have some news. So we're going to be switching up our drop days and the whole way we put stuff out. So
yeah,
this will be coming out on a Sunday instead of a Wednesday. We've been dropping every Wednesday, like consistently for the last
almost 2 years.
yeah, a long time.
Yeah,
And so it's been difficult. And so we had a good meeting, me, Josiah and Brandon, and we decided we're going to drop every other Sunday. So we're going to drop every other week on Sundays at 1 p.m. Instead of every Wednesday at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Right. So there'll be a week in between each episode. I think that gives people more time to digest it, and it'll give us more time to like really flesh out each topic and talk about it in detail and do our research about it and know what we're talking about. And
to really bring y'all better content.
yeah, we just want to make this better.
Yeah,
And so we feel like less is more instead of like, just trying to get it out a whole bunch.
that saying finally makes sense with this. Most times that's
makes-
no.
Anyway.
with Charmin, it makes no sense. I just want to point that out.
Okay, it depends on the product. This is true. Yes.
But what we're doing,
With Charmin. You're triggered,
bro.
man.
I've been
You have
Charmin
an
has
experience
had
with
me
Charmin.
just like y'all lied. You can use one. No, you can't.
Oh
No,
my
you
God,
can't.
too much information.
Just saying. Man.
Anyway.
Charmin lied to us, y'all.
Oh my gosh.
Lied.
So,
Hypocrites.
oh my gosh. So, yeah, guys. So we'll mention it again at the end of the episode just to remind people. But we're gonna be dropping every other Sunday. So this is gonna come out on Sunday. You're listening to it on Sunday instead of Wednesday. There'll be a post on Instagram to explain that or to just announce that.
Yeah.
So if you're one of our loyal ride or dies,
All 3 of y'all.
yeah, you will be like, "Where's the episode on Wednesday?" But don't worry, this will be on Sundays, and so it'll be right after church, right after second service. So you'll be like, "I'll get out of church,
Yeah.
listen to this podcast real quick." So
Be good for you.
yeah, man, and yeah. So our topic today, as Brandon mentioned,
Man.
is on being hypocrites or hypocrites in the church. I was just listening to I was watching a YouTube video. I just shared it with Brandon and Josiah earlier. And this person was interviewing some people who had left the church. And was asking them like, what made you guys leave? And so one of the things that all the people that were being interviewed, there's about 4 of them, excuse me, they all said, we feel like there's a lot of people who are hypocritical in the church. Like they teach one thing, they preach one thing, they live the opposite. And so that's a problem.
It is.
That's been a problem. It's not anything new. And so the question I pose is, how does the church avoid rubbing people the wrong way about church?
Well, first I want to start off with just talk about how I rub somebody the wrong way. I know the reason I know hypocrisy in the church is because I was in the church, or I am in the church. I try not to be a hypocrite to this day, but there was a time in my life when I was like about just telling people about how to live without actually living that way myself, and it came to a point where someone like called me out, was like, bro, you say all of this stuff and you telling all of us to do these things, but like you sleeping with old girl. And I was like, oh snap, like, you know that, like, how? And and this is kind of like, I don't know whose fault it is, but mostly mine. But I was I was actually appointed like the youth pastor, the youth minister, while I was still in high school, which is a very
Oh wow.
terrible thing to do. But we had a small church and nobody wanted to do it. So,
Great reason.
yeah. So it was like, yeah, cool. Like, you lead the youth. And it just gave me way too much power. And I was already living a double life when they appointed me. So, and the crazy thing is, like, you think some people think it's cool that people see you one way and you live another. Like, in your mind, you're just like, oh man, like, I got them fooled. And I guess intentionally, I wasn't trying to be like, I got you all fooled. I just didn't want to get in trouble myself. Like, I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to be at church the pastor talking about me in his sermons or pointing at me in his sermons. And he's like, eesh, this is wild. So I knew how to play the part. And because I played it so well, they just assumed that I'm doing the right thing. Oh, he's living the life. Nah, I wasn't. So I got called out by one of my boys. Well, I guess he was probably the closest thing to a friend in that setting, because everybody was living a double life. Everybody was a hypocrite. But like, he was the person that was like, nah, if you about this, be about it. If you're not, just say that.
Yeah.
So ended up calling me out. Mom found out. Dad found out. It was just all bad. And ended up having to apologize to the church. Having like publicly.
You one of those?
Yeah, publicly. And then from that time on, I was just like, I'm really cool with church. Like, after I graduated high school, I just stopped going altogether. And that's what kind of like led my life down into this really tragic path of like drugs and nonsense. Until the time when I really felt connected to God again, when I was like, okay, I can't keep living like this. And it wasn't really until I met my wife and when me and Jessica met, or when we got pregnant, that was like the change in my life. I was like, I can't keep living like this. So that's when the double life stopped. That's when me searching for God and talking to God on the regular started happening. And here I am 8 years later, still rocking tough with the Lord. So I know that like rubbing people the wrong way in church can have like dire side effects, because even the people that I hurt back then, even the girl that I was sleeping with in high school, who like, she was in the room when dude called us both out. So like, she like, I don't know where she's at now, but like after that, she never recovered. Like throughout high school, she became like labeled as that girl. Oh, wow. And then like, her reputation was ruined, while like mine was still intact, and like I was more seen as like a player. So I still had my friend. So everybody was like, "Oh, I heard you was doing this. I heard you. Oof. Oh, you had," and it was like, dang. And like, she just got shunned. So in that I'm sure that hurt her and gave her like a mad amount of church hurt, to where you don't want to come back. Like, wow, the youth pastor did this with me. Like,
He's cool.
Yeah, like the girl who was caught in adultery. Like, the dude's not talked about, and I don't know why. I wish I did, but that culture. Was yeah,
it was cultural.
But still, it's like, you can't just do that to somebody and then expect them to take all the blame. So I don't know where she is right now, but I know like wherever you are, I'm sorry. I apologize. The church did you wrong. I did you wrong, and that's not my character anymore. So, but it's hard to get people back once they've been hurt like that. Yeah. It's almost impossible for someone to come back.
I know. So for me, like, not so much, I mean, like, some of it was in church, but a lot of it was outside the church of being hypocritical. And so I remember, like, I actually shared this on Wednesday with the high school kids I preached. It was the hardest sermon I've ever had to preach, bro.
Word.
Man, it was crazy. So I shared that, we were talking about purity and just purity culture and waiting till marriage to have sex and things like that. And so, I shared that I wasn't able to do that. So how am I going to tell you guys you need to wait till marriage to have sex if I wasn't able to do it, right? And I shared how, I asked the question, what is purity? And, is it just simply not having sex before marriage? Well, no, it's not. It's purity has to do with your mind and your heart. And so it's much bigger than just having sex. And I gave the example, like in high school, you know, I was made fun of a lot for being a virgin. Like, I mean, constantly.
Oh yeah, you remember telling me that.
Playing basketball. Oh, Jeff still got his V card. I was just clown, bro. And so I used to like internally like, well, you guys are, you know, sinners. And I was just like, in my mind, I was like looking down on them. You wouldn't look down on me. You guys out here, you know, sleeping around and talking about how many
breaking the Lord's law.
And then I said, never mind the fact that I had been watching porn since I was 14. I had been looking at other people's daughters and sisters as objects. So in a lot of ways, I was less pure than
they were.
And so I flipped it on them like that. And so it's just like this idea of, and then I was known as the Christian guy on my basketball team in high school. And it's like, I was the biggest hypocrite out here. You know, like, and I remember, I'll never forget this. I'll never forget, like, senior year. Me and two of my teammates, we were supposed to go out. This is like right at the beginning of the season. We're supposed to sell like advertisements to local businesses to be like, to sponsor the program.
Oh, right.
Program. Mm-hmm. And we were out like all night. We got nothing because it was, anyway. And so at one point we're in the car and these two of my teammates were like really popular, like very good basketball players. Like a lot of girls, like they were just like them dudes. And they were talking to me like, yeah, you know, talking to me about God, asking me about God and things like that. And they were talking about like having sex and like knowing that it wasn't probably okay, but like, you know, Jeff, what do you think about it? And I just remember like in that moment being like, I am a fraud. Like they are looking at me like I'm supposed to be this Christian. I'm living a double life, like you said. And so I think if someone, to answer the question, at least in this junction from me and Brandon's example, like, how do you avoid rubbing people the wrong way? It's like, no one really teaches you not to live a double life. I mean, they do, but like,
it's not direct.
It's not like, yo, if you do this, you're hurting people.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at you as an example and you're like not doing it. You're not, you know, you're saying one thing and living another way. And I would say, so a big part of the blame would be on each individual.
Yeah.
Like Christian. Like I can't blame anybody for living a double life besides myself, right?
100.
But at the same time, try to blame somebody. How many adults do we know that we went to church with that were
foul?
I mean,
absolutely garbage.
I'm just saying, like, I feel like this is a bigger problem than we care to admit.
Yeah, I think because one, hypocrisy can run so deep.
Yeah, it's like,
and it can be
nature.
Yeah, but it can be hidden for so long.
Yes.
And then you're left wondering, like, fam, how long have you been lying to us? Like and it's like, there's so many things. You're just like, okay, so you've been doing this thing that's been wrong, telling us not to do it. And like, we are trying our best to uphold what you've been saying, even what the word of God is saying. And we look to you as our example, and our example has like failed us. And it's like, it's devastating, like completely to the core. And I can understand why people are like, nah, like, I love God, but I can't rock with church. And I think because we've missed like you said, it's human nature. We missed the humanness of hypocrisy. Like no one wants to be seen as lesser than, no one wants to be seen, especially as preachers. Like, let's just be 100% honest.
Yeah.
It is a huge responsibility to be a preacher, a pastor,
to be a shepherd,
to even to be a teacher. Yeah, an under shepherd.
Yeah.
The tough thing is, you know, people are watching you, but you struggle the same as them. Man. But we don't mention stuff like that in church. We don't talk about stuff in the church. Like, when was the last time your pastor was just like, y'all know I'm human just like you? Like, don't follow me because I will fall. I can fail. I don't put myself higher than I ought to be because I know that sin is lying out the door waiting to devour me. And I may not be strong on a particular day to overcome it, to rule over it. I might fall. We don't talk about that. So what we do instead is we hide it. We hide the sin. We hide the fact that we're struggling and that we're going through something. I mean, I think it's a poll was taken that 69% or 60% of pastors like watch pornography on Monday, right after they get done preaching, because of the weight that they have to carry. And like, I struggled with pornography for years. I know the struggle. I know what it's like to be like, God, I want to be pure. And I actually detest this sin. I actually hated masturbation and I hated pornography. But for some reason, I could not shake that mug, bro. And I remember just thinking, Lord, just take it away. Like, take the temptation away. I don't want to feel this way anymore because I want to live the life you've called me to live. But it is so hard. And I don't know how to get over this. And instead of like telling someone about it, I would just be like, nah, I'm cool.
Man,
I'm good. I mean, I remember even when we first met, I was just like, bro, like I'm struggling. Like, it's hard to stay pure. And you were like, yo, we got to do this together. Like, this is the only way that we able to make it through. And like, even through those conversations is what literally like helps me in prayer every morning, prayer every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is what helps me get through each day. You know what I'm saying? And if we didn't have this kind of relationship, bro, I think the hypocrisy would all come back. I truly believe that I would start hiding sin. I truly believe that I would start pretend like I was all that when I'm really nothing, dust on a scale. Like, I have nothing to hold myself. I have nothing to ground myself to when I'm living a double life. There's no foundation, and at any point, if one thing falls out, the whole life, everything I've stood for from this point all the way back, starts to crumble down, and people will lose faith. Not just in me, but they'll lose faith in God because of my hypocrisy.
This brings me back so much memories from like, you had pointed to the verse that's like walk in the light. And you like, I remember you made that a big emphasis among our group of preachers, of guys in our inner circle and our friends. And it's just like, I actually forgot about that, but it's like, that's a good reminder. Like, no, like, remember, we got to walk in the light. That's when, you know, because when you're hiding, when you're walking in darkness, your sin has power over you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you're able to like, no, God, this is what I'm struggling with, and then you bring it into the light, it actually loses its power. Going back to what you said about pastors, like saying, yo, I'm just a human, just like you guys. I don't know if this is the verse I was thinking of, but this says a similar thing, Hebrews 5. For every high priest chosen from among men is appointed to act on behalf of men in relation to God, to offer gifts and sacrifice for sins. He can deal gently with the ignorant and wayward, since he himself is beset with weakness.
Wow.
Because of this, he is obligated to offer sacrifice for his own sins, just as he does for those of the people, right? We have a high priest. We have a God who isn't weak like us, which is Jesus. Like, you know, we don't have to rely on just men who are just as fallen as we are.
Yeah.
So, man,
that's crazy.
So, yeah.
Okay, so when you were reading that, I thought about this. Even going back to that hypocrisy, the fact that the high priest had to offer a sacrifice for himself would show everybody else that he also needs help. It
help your boy.
Help. You know what I'm saying? Like,
help
it's like
me.
But I think one thing that can get lost in that is you become so accustomed to the tradition or the custom or the ritual that you could literally make a sacrifice. You can make an offering for yourself for your own sins, and still be like, nah, but I just do this because we have to. But like, I'm still good. Like, I don't need no help. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think this is another trap that the devil tries to lay for preachers, just anyone who's, because I don't want to just like limit it to preachers, but it's really like anyone who has any influence. Anybody with influence.
That's what it comes down to, is if you're in a position of influence,
your
hypocrisy has consequences for sure.
Even on this little, like our little podcast.
Yeah, shout out to our 83 subscribers on YouTube.
Hey, love y'all so much. But I think about that, like if we were, which is, we talked about this like 2 weeks ago, it could be bad publicity or good publicity. All of it is good. But if one of us was to fall in a huge scandal, our podcast ratings would go through the roof. If
That's what we're planning. We're planning a huge scandal, guys.
If one of us is caught like storming the Capitol, our podcast would be amazing.
Is that Brandon? Is that you in the corner?
And then you
climbing the wall.
And then you just talked about them, and you're a hypocrite.
Man.
Everything made sense. But
That's why you had so much detail. You were there.
But I think when you have like this much influence, and though our podcast seems small, the people that listen to it, they have whole lives, that could be shaped by something we say, and how we carry ourselves affects what we say. So if we're the type of people that, say one thing on this podcast and live completely different, if you meet us in person, you're just going to be like, oh, dang, I thought they was genuine. Not that, like if we think we too big time, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It's going to affect the way that you view us and the way you view us and how you take what we say on this podcast. You may not take us serious anymore, but what we're talking about is some serious stuff. Hypocrisy in the church is probably like one of the leading factors of why people leave.
Yeah, or don't go at all.
Go at all.
It's so this is a couple different ways there are two ways I wanted to address this question, right? So one of them is, okay, so from the people in the church's perspective and from people who are people rubbing the wrong way and people being rubbed the wrong way. That's what I wanted to say. Those are the two camps.
The rubbers and the rubbed.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay. So starting with Josiah's face, he's like,
nah.
I'm gonna edit that out. That ain't it. But the people who are being hypocritical, right? So starting from their perspective, right? People in the church in positions of influence, like we have to recognize and not just.
I'm sorry. Okay, I think I'm good.
We have to recognize that, like, people are looking at us.
Yeah.
And so it's not just like us in our young positions, right? Because I feel like living a double life is very common among youth.
Oh, 100%.
Like that's like the norm. Like I hate to say that.
Your Instagram and your real life have nothing to do with each
most of the youth in churches are probably living a double life.
Dang.
Right? And so
that's actual facts.
My thing is, where are they getting that from? Okay.
Not me.
I go back to what I said earlier. Like the adults, I emulated what I saw. And what I saw, what was communicated to me, unintentionally or intentionally, was that the church is not the place to be real.
Facts.
You need to come in here and put on a facade, put on a front. We don't struggle here. We don't sin.
Life is easy.
Life is good, But then you hear all these things about so and so, and you're like, wait, them?
Yeah,
they sit in the front every Sunday, but they're doing what? So you saw so and so where? What? Huh? Like all these different conflicting things, and then you just start to so everybody in here is fake. Wait a minute,
bro.
So what are we doing here?
Bro, that part used to get under my skin at my old church. I'm just like, when Jessica and I ended up going to the church we're at now from our old church, and we started to see and hear people being real with us outside, I'm just like, everybody was struggling while we were struggling, but no one said anything. Why? What was going on? Well, you got people up under you, people they look up to you, and you got to have like this. Who
says who?
Like why do we have this like do as I say, not as I do mentality in the church? Like we just want to tell people to do all these things, but I'm not doing those.
You got to do these things, but I can't do it.
Bro, even when it came to financial stuff, this is where like the church, my old church, like really hurt me. When my wife and we had 2 kids at the time, and we were struggling something fierce, bro. And I remember like wondering, like, hey, we got to pay this, we got to pay that. How do we get this money? And I remember like asking, I think it was a church admin lady, like, hey, does the church have any like program that like could help us out financially? And like she was like, what? She said something like the church is like the way the budget works, like we do all our giving at the end of the year, and I'm just like, it's June and I need help now. I can't.
I'll wait till December.
I'll be out by the time. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing. And is there any other way? Like, we need money. We need money right now. And they starts asking questions like, well, what did you do with your money? What are you doing? And I'm like,
listen, it's not here. Okay, I ain't got it. If I had it, we wouldn't be having this.
And it would be one thing if this is like my 4th or 5th time coming to you with this. This is my very first time.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, then that's like, okay, now I need a financial planner, someone to help me out. But like nothing. And I just remember that day after leaving that conversation, like, man, maybe something here is not right, because it looks like everybody here has money. It looks like everybody here is like well off at this church. But when I
up in the parking lot,
you're just like, oh, okay, everybody good.
BMW, Mercedes, Tesla.
It's like, is that a Tesla?
Everybody out here. I
Bugatti?
feel ashamed pulling up my little used,
my used Toyota.
Yeah.
And I remember that day number one, I just felt ashamed like crazy. I was just like, dang, like I really thought I was going to get some help. Like I thought if I came up here and these people know me, it wasn't like the admin person had no idea who I was. Like, you've watched my kids, you know who Jessica and I are, and you know that we're really trying. But there was literally like, there's like no room in the budget for you. And I think even at the time I was asking for like $300. So I'm just like, it was tough. And I walked away, and I remember even telling one of the other associate ministers, and I was like, bro, man, like my wife and I are super struggling. It's like, oh yeah, man, I could have told you where to go. It's not our church. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I've tried a couple times. And I'm like, no way. And he was like, yeah, like everyone seems like they have money, but like I'm starting to figure out the people who drive the nicest cars have the biggest financial problems.
Wow.
And I was like, what is, like, I remember Life Jennings had a song, and like when part of his song, he said like church has become a fashion show. And he was like, they won't even let me, he was singing the song. He's like, they won't even let me in wearing Timberlands, but like, this is the church. Like, you need me to be a certain way before I get in here. Like, that don't make no sense. And I just thought, like, this place where people are supposed to come for help are being turned away. And not only that, the church makes itself look like it can help everybody.
Yeah, we look like we can help everybody.
Oh, what's that one verse about Jesus sees like a fig tree and it has all the leaves on, has everything, like from afar, it looks like it's everything you need.
Got no figs.
He walks up to it and there's no figs. And he was like, never again will you even look like you would bear fruit. And he just withered away. And I think a lot of our churches are like hypocritical, like fig trees. Because
fruit.
Because you look at, I mean, I'm not trying to like.
You Pharisees, wicked. You outside of your cup is clean.
But the inside is filthy.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. I mean, when people look at churches today, when the majority of people look at a church and you're just like, dang, first of all, the fact that everybody drove here should, number one, just be like, okay, cool. At least they could help me like get somewhere. No, you ain't getting in my
transportation. Something.
So I think the church has presented itself as a hypocrite. I mean, not because I'm always like cautious of like how I talk about the bride of Christ.
The bride of Christ, correct.
But what we are doing to the bride, we are making her look beautiful and then not using her fruit to help other people. I think we've done that, and we've done it in a way where now it's become cultural. Like it's just regular. You could go to a church, a mega church, and be like, yo, this looks like a place where I can get some help. And it should be. And then you find out there's no help for you. It withers your, it warps your idea of what the church looks like. It warps your idea of what God is like. Because then you're like, this dude's been lying to us.
So you guys are saying you worship this God
who's extremely
good and generous and,
has everything. You talk about this provider. You call him what? Jehovah Jireh?
Yeah.
But when
Gyro? but then you guys are, I mean, like, you literally have these giant churches, beautiful buildings, and surrounded by like homeless people. Wait, what? Hold on. This is weird. So you guys put all this money into this, but you can't help people literally around
your
you.
building.
Yeah.
It's a humbling. It's humbling to me because it's like we have a lot of work to do as the church, and not just as a church, but as like influencers in the church, as preachers, as ministers, as any type of leader in the church. We have an obligation to be the church, not just be a part
At
of
the
the
church
yeah,
or attend the church.
No,
Yeah.
to be the church. The people, and another thing, like homeless people should know your name if they're around your church, and you should know theirs. Like one thing I've seen from my pastors now, Pastor Phil and Pastor Reese, is they know, if not, like if they know when there's a new homeless person on their street, and they won't just like notice them, but they'll go talk to them, ask them how their day is going, who they are, where they came from. Like, hey, are you just passing through? Or are you moving into the neighborhood? And they know their neighbors. Like they know all of their neighbors. Number one, like from like four houses down all the way to the gas station. But they made it a staple to be a church of the community, not just in the community. So their actions are way more powerful than like, okay, don't get me wrong, their sermons are fire, they're helpful, but like the way they live their life is a way bigger sermon to the homeless people in their community than it is to like anyone else who sees them live. I've never seen someone know the name of a prostitute and not just know her name, but be like ask her like, hey, you have clients tonight? She's like, yeah, I got 3. Look, you don't need to do that. Like, if you want to, like, how much do they pay you? And like, try to offer alternatives. Hey, you can clean my yard tomorrow, and I'll give you the money that this client would have gave you. If you don't do this, and like, be genuine about it. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, okay, this is what the church should be, and this is how you like stop hypocrisy. Because you're now the church in the community, and you're doing what the community needs of the community. Yeah, rather than being one that's in the community, and you're giving the community what it needs rather than what you think you should be giving it.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about this topic from the people who are being rubbed the wrong way. We got some stuff to tell you guys.
Y'all finna be hot.
Here we go. Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
This is a commercial for Preacher's Hour.
How to pay the bills.
Yeah, our Patreon, guys. So we talked about it a little bit in some episodes, but this is the actual commercial for it. So we have a Patreon. They have a website as well as an app that you can get. And we have 2 tiers on our Patreon. If you know how Patreon works, if you watch other YouTubers, everyone has it. My brother has one. Heck of people are using them. So we have a donation tier, which is $3 a month. You don't get any extra perks. You're literally just helping us out. We just would love it.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
And then we have a $5 a month tier. And that one, you would get access to our YouTube live that we will do. So we're going to start doing, we did an Instagram live before. We're going to start doing YouTube lives. And they'll only be for our $5 a month Patreons. And they'll be able to do like live Q&As with us. And it'll just be really interactive. So if you don't want to miss out on that, hit on our Patreon real quick. The link will be in the description of our episodes. It's patreon.com/preachershour. If you need more information, hit us up on Instagram.
Yeah, help us out.
Yeah, man. All right, back to your regularly scheduled program. All right, we are back from the break.
Yes, we are. All right, y'all ready to get rubbed the wrong way?
Pause. Kidding.
We finna talk about it.
Yeah.
We finna talk about it.
So, continuing to talk about hypocritical, people in the church, and people feeling some type of way about the church, right? So, again, I think it's really important for...
There's always these little...
We gonna help you out.
Yeah, one of these days.
It's really important for believers to recognize that people are watching us, right? Like the way that we conduct ourselves, not just what we say, but like how we live is really important.
Facts.
Right? A good reputation is more valuable than gold. That's in Proverbs. Like a good name. Like don't And then like the one of the 10 Commandments is don't carry the Lord's name in vain. Don't make him look bad. You have Yahweh's name on you. Don't represent him in the wrong way, amongst the nations. So we've got to be really serious about that. If you're going to call yourself a believer, live like it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what you say. Live like it. Be about it. Now, to my people who, are outside the church, maybe you're a non-believer, you don't believe in Jesus, or you used to go to church and then you stopped going to church altogether, right? Because you felt that people in the church were doing what me and Brandon have been describing for the first half of the episode. Okay, so number one, I think that if people in the church rubbed you the wrong way, if you got legitimate church hurt, we acknowledge that.
100%.
Yeah, like that is legit.
Don't let people tell you that the church ain't, the church can't hurt you.
Yeah, no, we've both experienced it. I think
it's a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, here's the bottom line, and this is going to go to my larger point. Hurt people.
Facts.
Right? So if we are all broken people, that means we have sharp edges and we can cut you. I got that from Lecrae. Don't give me any credit.
Oh, I was about to say, this boy is going in right now.
No.
What this break done changed you.
No. But like the church is full of broken people. Mm-hmm. So to think that you're not going to get hurt, I'm not excusing it.
Right.
I'm not saying that, well, you knew we gonna hurt you, we broke. But like you should have some understanding. You should be like, okay, like I'm not gonna be completely and utterly shocked.
Yeah.
If people do something harmful
to me.
Because these are broken people.
Yes.
Right? Now, if everyone in the church is presenting themselves as like perfect and got all together, then it might be surprising when they do something out of pocket.
Right.
Right. I get that. But like, they should know better. I agree with you. They should be changed by Jesus. They should be transformed.
Especially the ones in leadership.
Yeah. We should know better. Mm-hmm. We 1000% agree with you. But at the same time, you are still dealing with broken people who need grace, who need Jesus just as much as you do. Right. And then, to my larger point, I know a lot of people who are using this as an excuse. Well, the church is full of hypocrites anyway. That's why I don't want to go.
Ooh.
And it's like, is that really why? I can't answer that for you.
Yeah, because you have to, that has to be like a legitimate question. If you're a person that's been hurt by the church and you don't want to come back because you've been hurt by the church, you got to really search and find out am I staying away because I'm trying to protect myself or am I staying away because I really don't want to go? Period.
Yeah. And this kind of goes back to our conversation we had. So you've outgrown your church. Mm-hmm. It's a question of maturity, right? Because again, if you're somebody who thinks that you do not have to be plugged into a local church, like that's not a requirement, you're wrong.
100%.
I'm sorry, that's not true. Okay, you can't justify
no such
that
thing as a
in
fish
the Bible
outside of water.
Like
surviving.
Yeah, fish don't be out here by themselves. They be in schools. You know what I'm saying? It's too many predators out here for you to be a sheep by yourself. We've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. So if you've got to really examine yourself. Yeah. Like you said, do I not want to go because I felt hurt, right? Or do I not want to go because I don't want to go? I don't want to have responsibilities. I don't want people to depend on me.
Keep me accountable.
I don't want to have to do right. I don't want to have to
I want to live my life the way I want to live it. I'm not honest. And this is because I believe that's what you, person who's been rubbed the wrong way, I believe that this is what you want from the church. You want the church to be honest. Now, if you're going to ask that of the church, then you yourself have to be at least afforded, at the church have to be afforded the opportunity to ask you the same question. You can't expect something from the church that you're not ready to give, and you can't expect the church to give something that you're not ready to receive. So if you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to church because I was hurt, that's legit. Okay, cool. This church hurt you. But that doesn't mean you stay away from church
Churches,
entirely.
period. Yeah,
Like, that's not the
I
case.
agree with that.
You need to go find another. You need to find another body of believers who then you can rock with. And the ultimate goal of being hurt or by the church is not just to be out there, leave that church and leave it alone. The ultimate goal would to be to rectify and reconcile that relationship between you and that church, or you and that person for that matter. Like, I'm sure the whole church didn't rub you the wrong way. I'm sure the whole church wasn't hypocrite. I'm sure it was like one person, maybe a group of people. Because churches can be cliquish. It might be
a very influential group of people.
Yeah,
in that
definitely.
Church.
Could be the
possible.
pastor.
It could be the leadership, pastor, all that stuff.
I'm saying the ultimate goal for the believer who is maturing. Like, and granted, if you were leaving a church because you were hurt, you need to understand if you need to leave that church or speak to that church. Because it's one thing to say, this church hurt me, I'm out, and not say anything, and that church not know that they're doing something wrong.
There could be people in the congregation that need to hear what happened to you.
100%.
Because that could happen to them. And you could have prevented that by speaking up, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not trying to blame the victim, because that's it sounds like that. Because when it comes to church, like, it's a special place, both good and bad. Because we recognize that, like, the church is such an interesting place in America specifically, because there are these places that we go where we're supposed to be connected to everybody in there. We're supposed to be able to help each other, be open with each other. We're not supposed to hurt each other.
True.
Right? Yet the opposite takes place. Everywhere.
More than it doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, there's gossiping, there's cliques, there's favorites, there's,
definitely
there's different hierarchy, and people who are popular, people who aren't. The people who got money, people who, there's all kind of problems in the church because there are people in the church.
Yeah.
That's why.
100%.
If you feel like you're going to find a church that is like completely devoid of problems and zero issues,
then don't join it.
Probably not a church of humans.
And if they let you in, it's definitely messed up.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to try to address the issue. If that doesn't work, then I don't blame someone for leaving a particular church.
Yeah.
Now, I was literally just thinking about this as you were talking. I thought about, like, a lot of particularly black churches, or churches for predominantly people who are African American or black, right? They're in poor neighborhoods, right? People don't have the luxury to just go find another church always. You know what I'm saying? What if this is the closest church to me?
Yeah.
I don't have the means to go I'm going to go try like 18 other churches.
Yeah.
Or you live in a city where there's not that many churches. Then what is the solution?
Yeah, I think, in that scenario, you have to, what do people say? You can't have your cake and eat it too. So it's like, you have to choose, do I want to try to reconcile the relationship and let the church know I've been hurt? And if they do something about it and they try to change, then great. Then you have a fantastic church. You have a church that listens, you have a church that's trying. If you choose not to go that route, you just want to leave, my advice to you would be, leave with a plan. The church that, like, I'm leaving this church. I would say do all that you can before, because there's a lot. Yes, there are hypocrites in the church, but also there are, and this might sound weird, not all hypocrites are like bad people. Like, you could be hypocritical in one area of your life, and that's what you got to see, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean like my whole life is that.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean I'm not worth redeeming.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, don't throw me out with the rest of them. So that would be like my first take. Try to fix the relationship. If that doesn't work, then like have a plan leaving that church, saying like, okay, if I'm going to leave this particular church, I'm not leaving the church.
Yes.
Which a lot of people will definitely say that you left the church.
That's one very toxic trait of a lot of churches, is that they make you feel like if you leave us, particular gathering,
you have left the Lord.
You are unsaved. You're going to hell.
Bro, somebody read me of the I think it's in John 3 or maybe 1 John, but it basically the scripture says, it says like, if you tried Jesus before, if you tasted Jesus and his goodness and you leave, then there's no hope for you, basically. There's no way you can be redeemed again. Like you've been redeemed and you rejected it.
Yeah.
There's no way you're coming back. And someone used that verse on me, bro, when I left a particular church. And I was like,
come on.
Wait,
you tasted him here. You left.
You knew how good he was to you here. And I was like, I mean, this is crazy. 'Cause I'm more mature at this point, but I'm still like, that's church hurt. Like, you just weaponized the Bible against me, and you think that I'm leaving God because I'm leaving this flock. Like, what?
That's wrong.
It was. I didn't even tell Jessica that one because I was like, that's just too much. I mean, even back then, that'd have been too much for her.
Yeah.
She'd have been like, no, let's go find them. We're going to talk about this. I'm like, nah, leave them alone. They need Jesus. But yeah, I think that our goal, man, is to be a person of maturity when we get to spaces like this, when we get to conversations, when we're talking about like leaving the church, leaving a particular church.
Yeah.
I would even go as far as to say, like, if you're a new believer, don't leave.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that people might say some dumb things. They might say
that's tough. Because I don't want you to stay in a toxic, harmful situation. Like, if there's like abuse, and like people are manipulating you, like weaponizing scripture, and trying to, that's hard.
But that's why I said there's got to be like maturity.
Yeah, that's hard.
I don't see.
If I'm new, I don't know what I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So someone can say. I mean, I can guarantee you, especially if you go to like an old school black church, there are going to be some old ladies who say some really out of pocket stuff, and it's not. Okay, let me say it's not that they don't mean no harm. Some of them really do mean some harm. Some of them old ladies be going in, dog. But I don't think that their initial the initial thing they say they're not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to manipulate you. They're just doing what they've always done, and they really don't know any better, or they do know better, but they just don't want to change. So, as a young believer, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're a young believer listening to this podcast, shout out to you for like even looking for a podcast about Jesus. Yeah, that's fire. But if you're a young believer, please take some time to talk to people. I think one thing in the church that people will assume people are hypocrites because of like a certain car someone drives. Like, they'll say like, oh, you don't help out the poor, but you drive a Mercedes Benz. Well, how do you know I don't help the poor? Like, what makes, because I drive a Mercedes Benz, you think that I'm not doing that? Like, don't put hypocrisy on other people. Get to know people. Get to know who they are and get to know their heart as well, not just like what their actions are. Find out what motivates them to do what they do.
So I think both sides should be able to agree that hypocrisy is not good. The goal should be to get rid of it.
Yeah, but
right?
How?
Okay, so if I recognize someone's being a hypocrite, my goal is not to, I'm leaving. My goal should be, let's try to address this.
Let's try to fix it.
Take this hypocrisy away.
Yeah.
So first off, let's form a relationship. I don't want to assume. So first of all, I want to actually assume good intentions. I want to assume
you did.
I want to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Right. If I get to know you and I can clearly identify you are living a double life. You're presenting one thing in the church and you're living a totally different way.
On purpose.
Like knowingly. Like this is just not, you know what you're supposed to be doing, not supposed to be doing, and you're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I should care about you enough.
Yes.
To be like, hey, so what do you think about when the Bible says X, Y, and Z versus on this behavior? If they're trying to give you some kind of justification, well, but I know it said this, but the Lord on my heart.
Yeah.
All this other stuff. Look, bro. You know you're wrong. Ma'am, you know you're wrong. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to tell you, like, I don't want to see you living this way. Number one, it's hurting you. It's hurting your relationship with God. It also has the possibility to hurt other people.
Facts.
If they see you living one way in the church, presenting yourself in one way, and then they find out that you're basically not. It's not
you're lying.
You're lying. You could cause a lot of damage. You cause people to walk away from their faith. You don't want to be someone who's causing division, right? Like, God, I don't want that for you.
That.
God
said he hates
that. Let me show you all these verses in Proverbs 6. He hates it. He says if someone's doing this, warn him once, twice, and nothing to do with him. This is your first warning. I only get one more, and I got nothing to do with it. I don't want that.
Yeah, and that has to be the goal. I mean, I didn't think about that when we first started the podcast, but the ultimate goal with really anything in the church, any sin in the church, is to address it and to reconcile and to redeem those who are like we talked about last week about cancel culture. Like when you leave a church, that's almost canceling the church. That's the cancel culture, like individual cancel culture right there. Like you're just like
I did not think about that at all.
Like, I'm done with you. Like no, we just and that's not the goal. I mean,
that's crucial.
It's divisive, and it's even when you leave a church for a good reason, you still have to have like the humility and
that's a big word.
And the I don't even know, like it's another word, but basically you gotta have the ability to like not badmouth that church after you leave.
Yeah.
Because though there may be some things that are going wrong, the ultimate goal of the church is not to tear down or hurt people. It's to present Jesus. But if you are a person that is like, don't go to that church because of X, Y, and Z. Now, if the church is literally like, oh, they harming people. And yes, tell the police. But if that's not what is going on, then like you need to be a person that has, because you're not really upholding just the church. Like you're not holding up, I don't know, First New Baptist of second, third generation. You're not upholding the name of that church. You're holding up the church itself.
Yes.
Like you're representing
what people think of when they think of church.
Yeah, because no one thinks about like, oh, especially people who are not in the church.
Yes. They're not saying, oh, this name church did this. They're saying this is what Christians do. See, there go Christians again.
And they blame everybody.
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to avoid. And even for you, like I'm about to say for you, the hypocrite. But if you're being a hypocrite, if someone has already called you out, if you've already even identified that, because you had said earlier in our conversation, when you have a relationship with Jesus, you don't need someone else to call you out on what you're doing wrong. The Holy Spirit is well aware and has already told you you're lying.
You know you're wrong.
You know you're wrong on this. And what we have to do is we have to be mature enough just to say like, okay, I am doing this and I don't want to carry the Lord's name in vain. I want to be a type of person that is righteous and holding up the banner of the Lord and taking this to the rest of the world, because when people see me, they see Christ. When people see me, they see the church. When people see me, they see Christianity.
Yes.
So how I live directly affects their view of my God.
Come on, man.
We have to be the type of people that say, and this all comes up to maturity. Like, as you grow in the Lord, you will start to say, I can't do this because of what other people will think. Like I think it's like living above reproach.
Yeah, absolutely.
You always have to have that mentality. Like, I can't do this. I mean, they're definitely the balance, but like the idea is, I don't want to lead anyone astray.
Yeah, because it comes down to like, what's your motivation? Because I hear people saying, wait a minute. I don't want to care about other people's opinions. I don't want to live for other people. I want to care about what God thinks. Keep doing that.
Yeah.
But Paul talks about like, I don't want to hurt a weaker brother or sister.
Yeah.
He talks about how, like you said, like live in a way where that people cannot say anything bad about you. Where your neighbors, when someone comes to try to make an accusation against you, your neighbors be like, no, that's not him. He's dope.
That could be anybody else, but that ain't him.
He's a little weird with his Christianity stuff, but he's really nice. He's kind. He's giving, generous, helpful. He's a man of his word.
Yeah.
She's a man of her word. She's a woman of her word. I'm sorry about that. But like when they say something, they do it. Like integrity.
Yes.
Like how are you behave when no one's watching?
Their character counts, boy.
Yeah, man. Character. Like this is all the things we're talking about. These are things that I think non-believers and believers can all agree on are important.
100.
Right? So they should be even more apparent in the church.
Yes.
This like integrity's we got to be the main people of integrity in the world.
Yeah.
And so if we're not, like you said, like we've got to be conscious, like, you know what? People are watching me. Like I'm representing, whether it should be or shouldn't be. Like me and Brandon, when we go out, we represent the whole black community to some people.
Facts.
That's just the reality of being black. Oh, so how do black people feel about
See
it?
Josiah.
Josiah, she's like, sure is. That's how you are for me. But
it's like, no, black people are awesome. I know two of them.
Hey, they speak for the whole race, you know. But
that's what happens.
But that's
in the church,
literally how it is for being a Christian. If you call yourself a Christian,
especially if you're like public about your,
which you should be, if you can, you know.
But I see a lot of people who are very vocal about their faith on social media, and then like in person,
crickets.
And that's hypocrisy too. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
You deny me.
You get to flex all this Jesus stuff on your page, on a screen through a keyboard. But when it comes to like in person,
putting it to practice, like literally having compassion and helping people. Yeah, you can say who you voted for, what you voted for, but are you actually
doing
some
it?
action down, helping?
You might have put a black tile up, but that's one thing.
Guys, Brandon has got a full clip today.
I just know what it does, because even now, man, I'm planning a barbecue with my old military buddies. Just there's like 8 of us, and as I'm planning this thing out, I'm like, like what have I like portrayed to them in the past that I want to let them know, like I'm completely different from that person, and then what have I like posted on my social media that could be offensive to some of my friends that I'm about to invite to this barbecue, because I know they're going to come. Well, one, because they said they're going to come, and there's carne asada, so it's win-win. But secondly, I know that like the conversation is going to come up. They're going to ask me if I want them to or not. Even if I try to avoid, I just believe that God is going to orchestrate this whole thing to happen so that they ask the question like, so like, what's up with this whole preaching thing? What's up with this whole like church thing? I just know what's going to come up. And I want to be able to, number one, like to live above reproach. I don't want to be able to say, oh, well, the Lord's been doing this and doing this. And then something in my double life, if I had a double life, that would come up and be like, well, didn't you?
What about this?
With this? What about this? What about when you said this? What about when you? And I was like, dang, I forgot about that. So I'm actively searching my social media to be like, okay, did I ever like
Going
go
through
too
your old tweets?
canceled? Did I ever go too far? And not to like cover it up, but to be able to
address it. Yeah, that's good.
Because I want them to have a good understanding of who God is, not a good understanding of like who I think God is. So that's where I'm at right now. And hopefully, y'all, please, if you're on the if you're listening to this podcast, please pray. Pray for me as I get ready to talk to my military buddies, because I really want them to know the Lord. And I pray that it would happen through me. But if it doesn't, like I'm cool with that either way. Yeah,
man. So, to wrap this thing up, we're almost done here. To wrap this thing up, I think that's really good. One thing I wanted to say off of last week's episode on the cancel culture, it's not just liberal left who's canceling people. Because to be real, the right started it. When they canceled Colin Kaepernick, when they canceled everybody with Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, listen, both sides are guilty of canceling. I want to make sure that's good. I went back and listened to it. I was like, you know what? I put all the blame on one side. It's on both.
Oh, yeah.
And even the church can be known for canceling people.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which we should be the last people canceling people.
Yeah, we cancel pastors quick.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, you said this? Oh.
Cancel.
And it's like...
and you know what? We're guilty of that.
Who did we cancel?
John MacArthur.
We didn't cancel him.
We got close.
No, man.
We should be praying for him.
Yeah, and then so even at TG on Friday, Patient preached a phenomenal message, and one thing that he had mentioned is if you are a part of the church, like, basically he didn't say this because he doesn't use this type of language, but paraphrasing, he's like, we're not ever to cancel someone. What we are to do is pray for someone and for their redemption and then for their reconciliation at all times. He went as far as to talk about how do you love your enemy? Well, if you even have a feeling of love towards an enemy, that person can't be an enemy. You're not an enemy if I love you. Like when Jesus was saying love your enemy, he was basically saying you don't have any enemies. You can't have any
Turn all your enemies into friends.
They're all your neighbors. There's literally no enemy that you have. And because you, and this is why, that's going too far. This is why like many people in churches have like this like weird beef, is because you are viewing people as an enemy. But Jesus is saying you don't have an enemy. When he says love your enemy, he's not like, oh yeah, hate them for what they did.
The goal is not to keep them as an enemy.
No, it's always to win
eliminate the ideas of
enemies completely. So even when it comes to like LGBT community, for me, I'm just like, how do I love? Because I don't view my LGBTQ brothers and sisters or non-binary, whatever you identify as, I don't view you as an enemy, like ever. Like I never look at someone in the community and be like, nah.
Or anybody who disagrees.
No, like never.
Calling you an enemy even is just
it's just not right.
It automatically creates like a there's distance.
Yeah, a divide. And it's like, no, how do I gain access to image bearers who identify differently than me? How do I gain access and influence? Because I'm not just trying to get access alone. I want to be able to be a friend, a neighbor, a colleague. I want to be all those things, a brother, but also I want to be an influencer. Like I want to be able to show the love of Jesus, to show you that like this whole Christian life thing isn't about a bunch of rules and regulations, but it's about a real relationship with a God who cares and loves you.
Yeah.
And when you have it,
yeah, man.
And he can change your life. He's changed my life, and I know that he can change yours. And it's not just to change you being non-binary or identifying as whatever you identify as, but it's to change you to love him, and then he will do whatever he needs to do. I'm not even saying he's going to fix or correct or redo
another episode,
but his whole goal is to love you, and in turn, when you love him, everything changes.
Yes.
Everything changes.
Amen. Yeah, man. So stop being hypocrites. And
hey, live the right life, y'all.
Yeah, man. We gotta help each other out, man. The goal is to help people, not cancel them.
Yeah, man.
So just to recap what we said at the top of the episode, we are changing our schedule for posting episodes. So we're now going to be dropping on Sunday afternoons instead of Wednesday mornings. And we're also going to be only posting every other week instead of every single week.
Yes.
So less will be more. We promise. It'll be an improvement for you guys. You'll miss us a little bit, but absence make the heart go fonder. You feel me?
That's what they say.
Thank you guys for listening. We love you, and have a good week. And we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.